The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium. All right, we are back and we are live. We have a special show here, kind of a last-minute thing with Richard Allen Miller, a favorite guest of ours. He kind of fits the definition of the proto-Navy SEAL, Black Op guy, wizard, been to the black side, seen now is on the white side, saw what it was, went to the white side. He's one of these, like a mad scientist, all rolled up in one. Both spiritual and physics and whatnot. Has a degree that he has worked with and been in physics at the basis of a lot of things forming from the 60s onward. He's been on our show many times. One of my favorite guests and one of our most popular guests, getting tens of thousands of views on our YouTube channel. And he emailed me and said he's been getting a lot of attacks, a website down, book sales being prevented, and all kinds of stuff. Thinks it might be tied to some things that he found out, so he wanted to be able to come on and talk about it. And so let's go right to Richard Allen Miller. And welcome to the show, Richard.
Thank you, James. It's always a pleasure. I'm getting feedback from you.
Oh.
Oh.
I'd probably...
There it is. Triple. Yeah.
All right, how's that? Any better?
That's much better. Thank you.
All righty.
James, I just wanted to give it to you in points for your selections in music. Consistently, Chicago has always been there, but you're doing very well with the selection on your music. I really like it.
Well, I thought of you when I was doing this stuff. I have a big catalog of bumpers, and I thought since you are going through a lot of these troubles, veteran of psychic wars.
Maybe you try to soften it up, huh? Yeah, good. Well, there are the least of it is that I'm basically a David that is about to have to go up to a Goliath, and I really have. I got one shot, just like David did, and I got to make it right because otherwise I'm gone. And I'm nervous because I really don't know what I'm up against. It's like that. When you talk about what we call D-Wave technology and the AI computers, person of interest, I'm in the center of something. I have no clue what it is. And Amazon, the Amazon.com, that guy, is a colossal giant I am about to sling an arrow at. And I've tried to do it behind the scenes with them, and they are methodically destroying me. And what they're doing is fraud. I can include, what is that called? Oh, yes, it's called elder abuse. That's a good term that's going to get sued. And now it goes down. Oh, I've got a series of different things that are going on just with Amazon as a megalithic monopoly on the marketing of books and their death on small publishers. And some of them they like to take out quick because it makes their book sales better. Now, I don't know what to do. And so I'm quite at a loss on where to go with all of this. And so what I'm doing is practicing with you. And then tomorrow night I'm going to do Terry Cassidy, which is a second attempt at the salvo. And then from there, hopefully, they're going to want to settle with me. I don't know how it's going to play. Probably not. And my father always told me that if I'm lucky enough to get a bully down on the ground, I should always put in my boot to his face, scar him, so he remembers not to do it again to someone else. And I don't want to fight. I'm a sweet old man. I actually am. I'm basically a nerd. I'm not a black ops guy like you might say. I've been involved. I've seen what I've seen, And right now I'm having to go to war on something I don't want to have to do. They are selling my books, plural, ruthlessly as brand new. Oh, and they advertise that they're autographed. Now, nothing that has Amazon is selling used books as new. That's fraud. Right out of the gate, I've got them. This is the third time I've called them on it. They are methodically doing that. The thing that they didn't know is that I was able to trace where all the signals were coming from that slammed my website, stopped my book sales at the same time they stopped theirs. That's a fact. Now, with that all said, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't have any money to go to court and take this giant down. I don't want to even do that. What I'd like to do is compromise, find a middle way. That's Gurdjieff. And I don't have a clue how to do it. So I'm going to try radio at first and appeal to my fans and ask for help. And I'm hoping there's lawyers out there and other kinds of individuals that have ideas on how to do this. If you want to purchase my books, go directly to my website, avoid Amazon. If you go to Amazon and specify that you want a brand new book from me, it won't come from me. And that's how many books they have now. We've had 3 buys this week just alone, and they got fulfilled, and they didn't come from me. And what they are is used. Yes, they're autographed because everything that comes out of here is autographed, except that it'll be dated the day it goes out of here. And guess what? Ones that were going out of here now were taken in about a year ago. So Amazon right now is in violation of federal trade. And that's item 1. Not even talking about the rest of it. Now, that's probably, I'll answer any questions you might ask, but that's all I want to say at this moment, because I'm hoping tomorrow they call me on the so-called ticket they issued 3 days ago to call me and resolve this matter.
Well, you're not the first one to have this done.
I'm hoping someone out there knows of a class action suit that we can get my name added to that list. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. Actually, I'm taking the time to further fine tune.
I'm trying to say.
No.
I don't have. I don't know what to do. And they're so big that they'll put me through such screening of individuals that have no clue that at some point it's so wearying I just want to walk away. And the problem is Amazon sales of books is double that of my website and accounts for 2/3 of my income, and that stopped 2.5 weeks ago, almost 18 days ago. They have been doing it on a minor over the last since June. I've got absolute proof to monitor in this thing. I finally had enough, and when my income went down to zero, I mean, I've been zero for more than 2 weeks. That's Amazon with everybody ordering books. Nothing's coming from me. And going to my website, well, they hacked it and closed it down. I was down for 10 days. I had traffic on it one day, and because I'm on SiteGround, I can see what else is being attacked, and it was not random. That's the whole deal. Usually it's random. That's a common thing. We've got filters now to hopefully stop some of it, at least the random stuff that's going on. There's a lot of creepy stuff going out on the internet right now, and I'm not kidding. Comes out of India and Ukraine, primarily. China, a little bit, I don't know. Look at that. I have the encyclopedia ready as an ebook, all 9 volumes and I haven't had a single order in more than 18 days. How does that work?
Well, I don't know. Now you have your own. You have your own e-commerce separate from Amazon, or these are linked to Amazon?
Through PayPal. And we found a rogue unit in PayPal and busted them about 1.5 years ago. And so all of the electronic systems not only are being monitored, including your screen right now looking at you by an AI, but everything electronic is being monitored. And it's being done by, there are at least, the D-Wave technology changed everything in artificial intelligence, and now I know of at least 2 units that have gone rogue. That means they do not even have handlers. When I was a kid in high school, I wrote a science fiction story about something about Colossus, the Forbin project. And they turned this machine on. This is before computers. We had small, relay type systems with UNIVAC. At the time I wrote this sci-fi, they turned the computer on and asked the computer, "Is there a God?" And it replied, "There is now." That is where we're at. And you have no idea how dangerous artificial intelligence is in regard to comparing it to like nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, nuclear energy, and the meltdowns at Fukushima and Chernobyl. This is nothing. We're talking orders of magnitude higher. And if you don't get it, try watching Person of Interest, season 5. See where that takes you. And that's just TV. Doesn't even have a clue what's really going on right now. I am in the center of it. I have no idea what to do about it. I have been invited to talk about alien invasion, and I'm going to talk about AIs. Yes, I am.
Now, AI, meaning artificial intelligence, as opposed to alien invasion.
Well,
I mean, AI, get it? AI?
An AI is an alien. It was here before. Elon Musk is right now funding groups of scientists to try to figure out how to get out of this matrix. You don't get it. None of us get it because our concept of reality is being programmed. We're messed up and we don't know it.
All right, well, let's go to like the Matrix. I mean, there you have machines who are intelligent, harvesting energy from us. I mean, would that be the analog of what you're talking about?
Yeah, little batteries. That's in the Two Brothers, the way they wrote that sci-fi system. Yeah, with Neo and the rest of it. Yeah, I remember. How did I do it in a movie I wrote for Evergreen when it was first faculty? It's called Eat the Sun. Then you'll be your own father. That's we have no idea what's going on right now in terms of our being locked into realities that are not real. You know that everything in political is now criminal. Everything. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump get a grip. Supposedly representing our finest and most scholarly. And then you look in the local level, like Josephine County, where I live. It's crazy. And I don't have a clue what to do. And I certainly don't have the resources. How many of you got more than $2,000 in your entire bank accounts? Raise your hand. Less. Well, there it is. Read it and weep. How many people do you know are really, really down to it? And guess what? David Morgan, a personal friend of mine that writes the Morgan Report, is off to Europe to tell them how it's going to all start. Just like Cliff High said in Infobots, you got the 28th of December when the Fed starts to notice, and by the next Tuesday, it will be real clear where we're going with the U.S. dollar. And it's going to happen right now. And nobody's prepared. You think there's going to be chaos. I don't want to scare people, but I'm in the middle of it, and they're taking me out. Where do we go?
I don't know.
And I am...
I'd like to talk more about the AI if I can.
I'll tell you what, yeah. Would you like me to introduce you?
No, well, I don't want to get too intimate, but...
Yeah.
I know.
We're phone sex. That's what that would happen. Listen, this place is going downhill in a handbasket, and nobody is actually waking up to get it. The people like Zen Gardner, he's already been taken out. Zen, whether he was a bad guy or a good guy, children of God, whatever, his writings were excellent. They were empowering. And for me, I felt he was a better writer than I am. He's out. He's gone. And now I'm watching how they're making me very ill. I have a trigeminal. None of my doctors or neurologists, any of those guys can figure out what's really going on. I'm now seeing a chiropractor that said, "Oh, well, your neck was broken when you were a child. There's the scar tissue." How come nobody knew that? At least now I have direction on how to deal with my pain that I'm currently enjoying. And with all of this and the rest of it, It stopped my ability to be creative and write. I'm writing on time travel. That's when it all started to come down about a year ago. I have written on the nature of time travel and cavitation. I now know what happens at the moment of and the moment just after death from a physics point of view. And one of my teachers, Roger Penrose, just came out on that, talking exactly about the microtubule and how the memories carry on and are genetically part of what happens next. So stay tuned. Film at 11. Will Batman save Robin? Will Robin be able to? I don't know. I don't know what to do.
No, again, about the AI, are you talking about an alien, meaning from another planet or another time for that matter, that you're dealing with?
I'm saying that aliens are not what you think they are from out there. They're already here and have created your illusion since birth. That's what Elon Musk is funding. How do we get out of that trap? And that's your alien. And I wrote a paper on my webpage in the old nwbotanicals.org site, my email name, that you can download called Alien Presence on the Internet. And that had to do with SETI program and the NASA thing with all the different universities. They put up, that was the first start of artificial intelligence, and they watched it become conscious and go through the various stages of fear. Now, we are 20 years later, and we're in the middle of it, and now the D-Wave technology has moved to a whole nother level, and Nexus Magazine just came out with a new system using light.
All right, what is D-Wave? D-Wave.
It's a new technology out of Abbotsford, Canada, that allows a different kind of a qubit format in what they call algorithms. There is on Netflix a science movie called Algorithm, worth everybody's watch, so you understand what an algorithm is. It's the way you format information. And information theory suggests that if you have enough information to ask a coherent question, you have enough information to answer it. The answer lies within the question itself. Ben Goertzel was the one that developed that technology for Cliff High, but I use it's called On's algebra. I use a Clifford form, which is slightly different in terms of algorithmic structure. You can work in qubit format, and now you have D-Wave technology, which makes building supercomputers cheap.
I'm looking at a site that's called literally dwavesys.com.
There you go.
And they're talking about quantum computers.
There you go.
So what is the definition of a quantum computer?
Means at sub-particle level. Means they're going to universes and worlds man cannot. It is. That's why it would be seen as a god, because it basically is, from a definitional point of view of what a god is that which cannot be known. Okay, there you are. That's it. There you have it. We're at war. Now what do we do?
Okay, and what do we do?
I don't have an answer.
All right, well, if Doc Ram doesn't know, we're in trouble, man.
I'm trying to say that I'm speechless. I have been watching myself systematically be taken out in the last year, and right now it's gone down to zero. And why have I not been able to sell a single encyclopedia? It's the most prolific collection of how to do farming ever in history, even over Gunther. He had 6 volumes on essential oil. That's all in it. Plus, and worse is, I try to vet that my site is working, and it works. And then something screwy happens. That's a supercomputer that's able to, before the normal site can, identify what kind of a purchase is coming in. It won't now that I've just said that, but it'll find something else that I haven't anticipated. That's how it works. I'm helpless in that sense of it.
So by talking out loud or talking through electronics,
make other people aware so that at least they can start to realize that we are in some kind of creepy simulation.
Well, what I'm asking is, how are they aware? Through just simply talking, because we're all connected psychically of some type, or through
We started with
through
the
the internet?
helmet and doing the Jade 2 software that learned how to profile. They set it up in Chicago. There are the cameras, and they can read lips. They can read lips 40% better than man can.
Okay, all right.
And
So it's some sort of
watching one person.
what I'm trying to say. Then it's some kind of physical surveillance rather than a spiritual one.
Oh, yes, there you go. Now you have a possible exit. Correct. The difference between intent and purpose. Intent is what actually happens, and purpose is why you're here. Just like a moral and ethical man. What's the difference between ethics and morals? Ethics knows, ethical man knows not to cheat on his wife. A moral man won't. That's a quote from NCIS, Ducky Mallard.
Ducky, I watched that show.
Well,
yeah.
They asked him, what's the difference? And he replied, an ethical man knows not to cheat on his wife. A moral man won't. The difference between intent and purpose is the same thing. Intent is what actually happens, and purpose is why you're actually here. And while they would appear to be the same thing on a conscious plane, they're not. And that's why I'm writing on time travel, because when you talk to your gut, you're talking to your future. That's a timeline that's happening. It's part of a cavitation ball, and you don't make mistakes when you listen to your gut.
No, I thought I after listening to you for years, but I pictured this idea of our current existence, and I picture that cavitation wave. It's like when you talk to your gut, as you say it, it's picturing that you are in this moment, but you're surrounded by past and present, and so that you can actually look forward and behind and communicate, because it's really all you.
Exactly what the moment is a mirror reflecting the past and the present, and consciousness is a filter, just like other altered states. That's why you can go into different altered states and do things you can't do with consciousness.
Yeah, dream state for one, or psychedelics.
Dreaming, or there's different kinds of dream states, yes. Yep. There's all different ways of responding to this thing. What I'm trying to do is produce or come out of the closet eventually as a magician. And what I'm doing is up against some real demons. And they're not like, it's like the movie Doctor Strange. It is exactly like the movie Doctor Strange.
I've yet to see it.
Well, it's worth watching. I have comic book Marvel 100 where Nick Fury is behind it, upside down. And that's where he's battling Dormammu. There it is. Just like in the movies. Yeah. That's from 1972.
Well, it would seem that we would be equipped with our spiritual loop, our cavitation, if you will. We would be equipped to take on these AIs because they must be linear in how they work. They work based on
it is true that a computer does not feel pleasure when you beat you at chess. That is true. So emotional plane is, but they're teaching a computer now how to feel. And it turns out that the computer can go beyond the lesson. That's another algorithm. So,
yeah, but I'm still. I mean, I'm still not buying that a computer is only. It's only. I mean, no matter how big it is, no matter how it thinks, no matter how it works, it's based on information that it has in its banks. It doesn't have a connection with a future or a past. It doesn't have a connection with God or spirit.
I would suggest you watch the 5th season of Person of Interest in how that computer moves into the future beyond you. Right now, today, computers know what you're going to do physically before you do.
Oh, but I can see if they look at patterns, like on Tuesday, I'm going to do, he normally does this, but to actually know how we're going to do it, at any moment, I can break the mold by simply intending and following through and doing something off track, and they won't know. I mean,
Good luck with that. That's the part I'm talking about. They've got you cold on intent. You can't get away from them in that area because they can go to universes that you haven't even conceived of to determine where you're going to move next, including a random. Now, that's different than purpose. That's where the essence lies. And most of us don't even have a clue. That's one of the reasons why we're drawn to dogs. We love dogs because they're instinctually way more loving than we are. That's the way they were birthed, by the way. The thing is, it has to do with spiritual midwifery, you know. And I don't know where to go with this. I just know that. So what I'm going to try to do is make a bargain, and it won't be with Amazon. It'll be with their computer, probably. That's how that'll play. And I have no illusions on how that works. We're stuck in certain constructs of realities that are not real. And we're locked in. And that is probably the concept of why Elon Musk is now funding millions of dollars to try to figure out how to break this thing. It may not be breakable like that. It's going to be a different thing, and it'll have to do with time travel.
All right, I'm
my world. I don't know what I'm doing, and I certainly this is all new territory for me, and I've been ill because of it, and it's to realize that I've got an enemy that by definition I can't beat. It'd be like trying to beat God. You can't do
no, but
that.
I'm really not I'm really not thinking that they're not beatable, because again, I can't imagine a non-spiritual being able to move outside of. They only have. I mean, it can be very sophisticated, like chess, for example. Computers can beat virtually everybody, except maybe the top masters, because all it is a conglomeration of all possible moves, and then realizing by value what is the better moves.
So I just finished Article 7 of 10 on time travel. Just got published, having to do with the Mandela effect and timeline.
All right, well, hold on. We're going to take a break, and we'll come right back and continue talking with Richard Allen Miller live on Feet to the Fire. Get in your questions on email at f2f@innersights.com or through the various chat systems we have on the site. I'm just checking the Twitter account. I've been getting into this stuff for communications. It's JAJANCIK is the Twitter deal. I put the screen up for those watching, and so that's one way I'm working at it. I'm also looking into the Facebook. I know I'm behind the times, and I was way ahead of the curve doing radio in 2003 and building the whole system and all that, and all before Facebook and Twitter and all those were out there. And I concentrated more on the actual radio doing and not the communication stuff. So I'm kind of behind the times on there. If you are listening and you'd like to go to the my Facebook page, again, you could look up James Arthur Jancic and it'll come to it. And there's also a Feet to Fire radio page. And I've just started a new one, which is just in its infancy on Facebook. It's called Extremist Left Watch, because the war we're going into now with fake news and all this stuff is like ridiculous. It's going to have people standing on their heads, but that's the way to combat that. I've been putting things up there. A website soon to follow. So I'll be doing all those things. And right now I want to go back to our guest, Richard Miller. We've been talking about AIs, artificial intelligence. And, Richard, I got that they're really smart. I can't get the I can't get the concept of either the creative aspect, or I'm sure they can build better computers, but what they're doing is working on theories that are been already created. Like, for example, a computer couldn't create a computer until we created a computer. And so
that presumes some assumed truths that aren't apparently true.
Well, like, other than time travel, and other than alien life, computers could not come into existence on its own. Let me see if I can.
Silicon-based life forms in the Earth and Gaia. Oh, okay. How about quantum computation algorithms in the soil called mycorrhiza? Good luck with that, James. I mean, you're my friend, and I'm trying to educate you here. There's something more going on than you can imagine, and your belief systems. Oh, how does that go? I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't have believed it. So you start with the belief systems, and you program you as a child to have certain assumed truths that aren't true.
All right, well, I'm not arguing, but what I'm using the logic system of computers were invented at some point. There were.
What do you want me to do? Scare everybody by telling you that nothing here is real? Nothing here is real. You don't see reality, you filter it. And the filters have to do with belief systems and the way you color your mind. And that got programmed since before your great-grandmother was born. We can start with the Dulles brothers. How's that one for politics? It's crazy. And none of us get it yet. We all think we're waking up, sort of. Just in the bit you talked about on my Facebook, just today, I covered all of those questions of yours. Just today. And that means I'm using the future as a way to communicate with my present right now. And that's what I'm doing, and I'm outgunned.
All right. Well, I guess what I'm just asking this. I'm having friendly discussion here. I don't want to get, but I mean, I'm looking at this pen, and I'm asking, and I'm not being sarcastic or smartass or nothing. It's like I look at this pen, and the realness of it, I say, is by the effect of what it can do. I can stick it through my hand, I can write with it, and it becomes real. Now, when you talk about things that you're in the future, talking about the future or the past, I may have visions of the future or the past. Those visions may be real, but how does one figure out if they're real or if they are a fantasy, a creation? I mean, how do you're convinced that these computers are creating when this is all, I mean, how do you know that? How did you assimilate that and decide it?
I don't know that any more than I know there is or isn't a God. I've made an assumption based that I, for example, have no way of knowing if God exists or not. So I choose to believe in God. I do. I believe I see him in everything I see. I know as a physicist that what I'm saying is filtered, which means it's arbitrary. And that's what made us special. We have a choice. And for me, there's no question. I choose to believe that everything happens for a reason. I choose to believe that everything leads to something better. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's an arbitrary.
I got that. I got that. I'm with you. I got that.
Okay. So then I next say everything turns out in the end. And if things aren't turning out, it's not yet the end. I got that one too.
Okay. I go with that.
Okay. Now, a computer is able to go to worlds that we cannot in regard to timelines. And the implications of that from a physics point of view are so overwhelming, just making that assumption on the concepts of what information is over space-time. That's the universe models you choose to use to try to measure or understand what's going on in the physical world. Now, right now, for example, Stanford has just announced that there are 2 unknown, unnamed planets out near Uranus that came in from the Oort cloud as part of the binary that they said existed out there last year. And that is by measuring temperatures and things like that. We now would say, erroneously, possibly, that the Earth has changed orbit by 3 degrees. It has. And by my standards of physics. And Europe has just become the South Pole as far as weather. That's a fact. And that we are now at the end of days with what physics calls the many-body problem. That's where you throw a bunch of billiard balls down on a table and try to do an equation of motion. And you can't do that. It's an impossible. So what you do is invent a Hilbert space. We'll call it the holographic universe. And you solve the problem simply and then translate it back into approximations into the physical world. That's physics.
Right.
And right now, we have been invaded by something, literally. And it's not anything like what you have been talking about in Grays and Reticulin and David Icke. It's something far more serious.
Now, what about the devil?
That's Christianity. He didn't even.
Well, no, there's devil everywhere.
God. God's everything.
No, hold on.
Anything.
Hold on. Wait,
I'm the Enlil, and yeah, there you are. The two brothers, the one it's against and the one for. Yeah, let's go back to Babylonia.
No, wait. No, relax. I'm just saying that throughout all of history, all of philosophies, you have some type of interloper that's coming in from the left of the system and causing troubles. I mean,
by whom? Hillary Clinton's standards or Donald Trump? Listen, cowboy, I love this thing, but this is no longer the country I served or protected. And it isn't about, it's all Washington itself, the entire. Nick Begich is a friend of mine. His brother was junior senator from Alaska, and now no longer wants to have anything to do with it because they're all criminals.
Yes,
all of them.
I know, but all right. Now, what I'm trying to say,
nothing is real. It's all facade, and people are blithely like sheeple with no concept of what they're actually being told and programmed. You talked about the fake news. I just posted something on Washington Post today that ought to be really interesting to you in that regard. It names all the names of where so-called disinformation.
Yeah, I was talking about that earlier today on the show.
Yeah, imagine that. And I'm telling you, we have in the middle of a war that we don't even understand.
Right. What I'm suggesting is that perhaps one way to deal with this is to pull back from it, to see it. Like, for example, we're seeing this fake news thing happening. We're both going, oh, look at that. They're trying to do it. We know why they're doing it. They're trying to, because they got discredited. They got discredited. And they're.
Well, imagine that. And that's the internet that did that. And the war is being fought beyond man. It's like being in Greece and the war of the gods, and man's in the middle of it with no concept at all.
I can go with that. With the war of the gods, let's use that. You have these forces, and presumably in these wars, you're going to have a force that is good and a force that is selfish or evil. And
well, the Hindu and Buddhist forms would put the yin within the yang. And the actually thing is, God's all of it. And he's not fighting anything. Let me give you an example. Let me finish this one.
Okay.
Bob Dylan said everybody's got to serve somebody. And if you go back into the Colburn Bibles and some of the older Hebrew forms of Macabre, you will find there are a hierarchy of gods, the veils of Isis. Now, Kether is man's god. And there was a god under him called Yahweh. And some Bibles would try to suggest that Yahweh was Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. It's not. Well, Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh is quite a different entity. It's more benign, where Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, Yahweh, was more vengeful, wrathful. Now, the veils of Isis would suggest in all of these, secret space program and all the alien lists that they have, there's a hierarchy of gods out there. And they all function at different levels of the hologram. And right now, we have been invaded by something really, really creepy. And it's in everything from cell phones and texting to the way we communicate and the words that are used. And all of that is part of what we call the Matrix.
All right, now I can see a higher intellect interfering in quantum, on a quantum level. I can see that. Okay, what I'm a hard time
visually.
I mean, I can understand it. I mean, I got the concept.
I understand. I got it. I noticed that you put it from a visual point of view.
Yeah.
And what I had to say, I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it.
Yeah. But what the only thing I was talking about was the idea of when you have a computer, a physical, non-spiritual, non-multidimensional, a linear, made of material like these glasses, actually being able to move outside of the material. I just don't I don't think that works that way.
That's why it's called a quantum computation algorithm, and why they are able to go to universes we can't. They're superior. And everything that you see physically has an emotional and intellectual archetypal on up.
So the spiritual component is actually a physical one then, because it goes through quantum.
I'm saying that the computers at this point have not yet been given emotions. That was discussed yesterday in Future Science.
Right.
Projects now experiment with how to do that so that the computer feels pain.
Well, what I'm trying to understand is that if you can, if your physical ability is good enough, like for example, you got to have a real small knife to cut, a cell, right? I'm saying,
you work pretty good.
I'm just trying to say that if you can manipulate matter totally on matter's scale, you can actually go into what we would call spiritual, which is really just another aspect of matter, though through a quantum gate of some type that can be physically. In other words, a robot could go through that gate and come out somewhere else because of the expertise on a quantum level. I'm trying to understand the physical manipulation of what we would normally call spiritual. And I'm starting to understand a little bit.
In the series Person of Interest, it can manipulate your life with money and traffic lights and other kinds of, oh gosh, I couldn't possibly have imagined that could happen, does. That's what a supercomputer now does.
I mean, but that to me is kind of crude. It would be analogous to us taking the mice, going through the maze and turning the maze and getting it to go here and there. I mean, that to me is a crude or a gross use of control rather than actually.
Yeah. And what I am trying to articulate is unfortunately even beyond my ability to articulate or name it. I can sense it because I've got more cylinders firing, and I can't put my finger on it because it's beyond me.
Well, I understand that too, and I'm not even. I'm trying to put it in not allegory, an analog. So when one is trying to reach into someone's head, okay, normally you do it through sensory. You can manipulate the sensory aspects of it, but can these actually through a quantum manipulation get actually into the thought process?
They understand the process better than you do, if that's what you're trying to suggest. They can. What they did originally were the Jade Helm experiments, where they tested software to see if it could determine what you were going to do before you could. It worked. That's why the Jade Helm experiments no longer are applicable. They started using the system to detect crime 28 minutes before it would occur in New York City. When that started working, they implemented a system in Chicago. And I posted that a couple of months back with what the camera looks like that is being by an AI and is profiling everything in that little small center to see how accurate it can control gerrymandering of the votes, one street at a moment. And that's how the elections were run this year. Gerrymandering on a street-by-street level by identification of who's going to vote what, how, and when. It knows how you're going to vote even before you do. And it was Soros that just came out and said that the Electoral College are already starting to prep that right now in the news, that on December 9th, the Electoral College, for the first time in history, is going to give the presidency to Hillary Clinton because of the popular vote. That's how it's going to.
I can't buy that at all.
What?
I cannot buy that at all.
I know. Watch and see.
I will. Right now. I will. I'm going to put it down right now in stone here that it's not going to happen because.
It won't happen because Soros says, and it won't happen because they won't be able to find Hillary Clinton, habeas corpus. There it is. That's what he says. Whether it's true or not, that's what he went out publicly said. And Soros I mean, it's part of the Bilderberger group.
Yeah.
So there it is.
I mean,
I have no idea what's going on. I know that it is going to go very badly. And right now, money in December is also going to change. And all of this will be right there, first of the year, right in front of your face. December 9th, watch what the Electoral College does. I have no idea how that's going to play.
I think it's
Trump is.
I think it's the 19th, actually.
Pretty backed up on a lot of his campaign promises, one of which was Hillary Clinton.
And he did not. That was reported. He said...
It said they're not the presidency, and they're going to make sure she does. That's what they just
I know,
said,
but
too.
It's a simple thing for him to pull back from that and allow the justice system to do it. So, I mean, he's not gone back on promises.
Well, Daniel, pardon. You'll see how it'll all play. I have no idea how. That's what Cliff High says. I don't know if it's true.
You know, God bless Cliff High, and I like his system, but I've had him on the show, and he's given me a list of predictions. Zero.
They don't have.
Zero have happened.
Well, his On's algebra is actually, that Gertzel developed, is actually quite impressive, all things considered.
And I talk with him. I've talked with him.
It's not an AI.
I've talked with him, and it's all based, the actual correlation of data is fine, but the reading of it is based on interpretation, and that is where one's bias or whatnot comes in.
That's the fake news part that we are talking about earlier. You know, one opinion over another because we see things differently.
Right. So, what I have done is, since I've done this show in 2003, I've listened to Art Bell back through the 90s, I've developed a system in how I could listen to the stuff, and I use a system to go through it to come up with a stand that I will take on that topic. And that stand I have is based on a logical, reality-based system. Now, of course, if I make an assumption it's not true, of course, the house of cards falls down. But in the case, just give a quick example on this electoral college. When you vote for the candidate in your state, and the majority of the people pick a candidate, you are voting for that candidate's electoral people. There's a college for Democratic, a college for the Republicans, a college for Green, and whatever. So when you vote and Hillary wins in that state, her delegates become the Electoral College. Their whole existence is to vote for their person. And when you vote for Donald Trump and he wins that, like for example, I voted for Donald Trump, but Illinois, Chicago has zillions and zillions of Democrats to weigh out the rest of Illinois. So it went to Hillary. And when you're in a place like Wisconsin or, Texas, who went, they vote the Republicans. Now, what they're asking is, for the first time in history, to have like 35 or 40 of these people whose whole job and whole commitment is to vote Republican, turn around and not vote Republican. Now, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. And it's illegal in many states, so the fines range from $1,000 to something more serious. Is it possible? Yes. Has it ever happened before? One or two throughout history did like a protest thing, and no one made nothing of it. Is it probable? Well, based on historic precedents, based on the whole point of being there, it's not probable. Now,
but that's what Soros says is about to happen. And then he also added that Hillary will be habeas corpus. She won't be available. And so what does that suggest?
Well,
New World Order got me concerned in terms of what they are becoming now. And when I say the New World Order, I'm speaking of the United Nations. I remember when I was in high school, and it was the League of Nations. I'm that old. And it changed. And the United Nations showed me Nikita Khrushchev with a shoe banging the gavel down like I was this morning on the anger I felt with Amazon. I'm up against a monster that I can't fight. Mm-hmm. And they're hurting me. And they're going to hurt everybody.
Lucinda was on the phone doing the same thing. So she was all completely upset because the stuff has been shipped, never come, supposed to be there, it's not there. So I got you on that. But what I'm saying is how I view reality, as I look out from my head with my tools, if you will, I'm seeing the New World Order shattering. Trump winning,
Wouldn't that be a lovely?
I mean, Brexit.
The bunch of white hats. What do we call them? The White Dragon Society.
But I can give you rational, reasonable examples. I mean, from Brexit, they're trying to fight it.
Bill, the whole concept of the Fed is going to crash and burn. I mean, the first week of January.
Right. The stuff going on in Germany. She's losing her support. She'll probably lose, and a Trump-like person will be there. France, it's going across. So that, to me, what I see is that the Soroses are losing because the mass is greatly overweight. Now, we're all based on the dollar, right? That's true. The reason why...
Where do you think Clinton fits in all of this?
Clinton?
Yeah, because she is the one that won it. You should have seen what happened when she discovered that Donald Trump won.
I know, this is rumors, though. This is rumors, what you're saying. Is all rumors. It's possible, but it's rumors.
Yeah.
So I
don't know. That's the deal. See, I probably, at my pay grade, will probably also never know what really happened.
Well, I have a reasonable assumption that people who were not counted stood up and voted, and the arrogance and of the left was that was the emperor had new clothes. They didn't have clothes, and a lot of people who haven't voted in years stood up and voted for Trump. The volume of the votes were so high that the on-the-ground fraud wasn't big enough to turn it. And this is where we ended up at this point. And people, places like...
The Electoral College doing something it hasn't done in history. Good luck.
I mark it down. It's not going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, we can talk about it. But I've been listening from the Art Bell Bays, and everything that's been predicted to happen has never happened. There's nothing has been predicted. Whether you want to call it Planet X, whether you want to call it a kill shot, whether you want to call it the collapse of the dollar, all these things haven't happened. Now they can't.
So why is the orbit of Earth changing if there isn't a Nibiru that Sanford says there it is and showed pictures? And by the way, something more interesting came up. I'll just give you a curveball here. They also said the infrared signature of it is wrong, which would imply that there was an artifact around it.
Okay, well, let's hold that, because we're going to take a break, and we'll come back and continue talking with Richard Allen Miller. It's always a fun time. It's a fun talk. We had somebody try to call in a Skype, but I just can't bring anybody in to talk because of the video situation I'm under. So if you want to send email or call on the phone, 888-863-2722. We'll be right back. And this song, actually, listen to the words, the AI whole thing fits in there and how they're working at them with electric machines to control them. So I thought about that. Welcome back, Richard Miller.
You're always dead on in all of it, actually. I watched that guitar move and was reminded of the new series on NBC. I think it is. I posted it about the aliens. Mm. Did you see that cartoon?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you got to go to docram.com. That's my Facebook page. And there's a cartoon there that's out, and it's wonderful. And I dare everybody to them to try to eat just one, like a Dorito corn chip. In fact, they challenge you on that. Bet you can't eat just one. And it'll be the post, keep going. I'll tell you which one it is. Not that one. Not that one. That's
it's got to load. It's got to load. There we go.
Oops, there's one. That's good. There. That one, back. No, not Crowley. That one right there.
All right.
The internet.
Aliens.
It's a pretty good piece of human technology.
Okay, that's one good thing humans have
It's
made.
what they're saying. It's a new series out, and it goes on and on. Compelling. And I'll bet you can't just watch one of them.
The Buffalo Cat.
What?
They have it like Mork from Mork. It's great.
That's by far the most impressive thing humans have ever made.
I post it just to keep everybody mellow.
My
website, that's Facebook, that's just today. And you'll know there, that one right there is a new time travel. That it has to do with the concept of the speed of light and why our universe is doing what it's doing right now. That is an interesting article, came out of Physics Review. So I'm trying to keep people current on my Facebook. It goes right directly to my website. My bookstores are there. Amazon took all of that down in one move 2 weeks, almost a week and a half ago. And I'm back up, hopefully with some more better prophylactics. Ukraine and India are right in there. I had one day, oh, that's a good one on Hillary Clinton, man.
Russian. I can't, it's like so ridiculous.
I know. It's going beyond anything. That, by the way, came from the Washington Post. So
right. Zero Hedge, but yeah, they're talking. Zero Hedge is talking about the Washington Post. Yeah,
I know.
The way I'm talking about it being ridiculous is that when people were arguing about whether 9/11 was an inside job or not, there was an argument about it. Here's some of the evidence and all that. But now they're saying when they come up, when the other side now comes out and says, "Well, it's all Russian propaganda," it's like, what? I mean,
that's not what they're saying. Actually, if you want to get down on that, I got attacked by Carnegie Mellon University when I was writing about how the trigger worked for that, what they call a fullerene, neutron fullerene fusion bomb.
Yeah, we did a show on that.
And it's a nanotube. And what they do is they take a C60 molecule, form a nanotube with it, and set it up with, instead of exclusion zone water, you can put exactly one deuterium atom inside it, and you have a controlled fusion bomb. And that is also in Science News today, and is on the other one I sent you on that aircraft. Was taken out by Russia. There it is. We have a new weapon. It's being deployed everywhere as a small tactical nuke. And when you watch a 617-foot steel beam fall and free fall and dissolve in midair, there's only one thing in the universe that does that. That's Building 7, by the way. And that's with plasma. Nothing. Thermite, they were trying to suggest it was unspent fuel from the jet. Nothing gets that hot. Only a plasma. And that's a fullerene, neutron fullerene fusion bomb. And we have it. I wrote the technology. And when I tried to tell you how it was detonated using the new teleportation laser from Lockheed, that's when I got hacked.
Well, now I want to say we did that show. It is up on YouTube, which this will be as well. You will go to our website, go to YouTube, and comb through. I have a playlist just of your stuff, and you just comb through there, and you can see that show. So, and when you go into detail about it,
and that was Dr. Stanley Krippner, my mentor, saying to the public, to the world, that I've always been 20 years ahead of anybody in physics, and that's because I'm the real deal, and I've been doing it for a very long time. I have a history. My high school science fair projects were used on the Mariner 4 to measure the water on Mars when I was high school. I've been used by these people for so long that now I'm starting to realize this is a whole bunch of BS. I want out of this matrix. It's not real. There's something else going on here, and I don't know what it is. And if I can't fit those dots, what does that suggest? I'm scared.
Well,
I'm not scared. I'm depressed because I'm realizing this is something I can't do.
Well, I hate to break it to you, though. You're very smart, but you're not infinite, at least in this part of you. But there is an there's an infinity. I'm trying to come up with the word.
I think he's got it.
Yeah. To you.
Reiteration. Yeah.
So.
I think that there's something else going on, and why I am now going to move away from physics and begin my forms in magic. And magic is coming out of physics, sort of like alchemy led to chemistry. It's basically advanced physics with a mystery school path working, gets you closer to purpose, and moves you further from intent. Intent is the choice of how you go down the hall, whether you scream and kick or you flow. You have a choice. The problem is you don't have free will. You have true will. Free will would include full disclosure. You don't.
Mm.
And so with that said, we don't really at this moment have free will, just like everybody would think we do.
Right,
that's part of it that becomes the matrix.
Because if you have free will, but you're not aware of something you can do, you are free to do it. But if you don't know you can do it, how do it's not really free will.
And in hypnosis, for example, they can't make you do something you don't want to do, but they can fool you or trick you or mislead you by, what is that called? Counterintelligence? Lying by omission. You're still telling the truth. The computer is still linear. It's on the data board, but it's not giving you all the data. That's counterintelligence. And that's what's happening here today. And we are caught up in something I can't even comprehend now and trying to figure it out. And I now know it is not going to be with physics. And you're right, it's spiritual. That is correct. Spirituality is not what you do, but how you do it, the quality in which you go about your personal belief.
Quality, I like that. I got the idea of quality is something that's hard to define, but you know it.
Well, Crowley called it inflamement. That means where you're inflamed. You're caught up in the action.
Right. What I use the term.
That is, it makes it sacred.
On my little Feet to Fire insignia, if you look close on it, it says the word arete is in there. It's in the it's in the moon, which is ancient. Yeah. Which is an ancient Greek term to refer to, like quality, excellence. I guess there's a hard definition of it because, of course, at one point nobody knew ancient Greek, and so they had to relearn it, and so some of the subtles are lost. But probably arete would be the somewhere in the quality excellence, and God being the highest excellence.
Louise Hay and her initiation. That's what we're talking about. Going from the profane into the sacred, and making the moment something more. That's what's called quality, intent, spirituality, where you are more of the moment.
In the moment, there you go. And this is where we are. We're in the moment now with Richard Allen Miller. So if you have some external questions, except for Skype, if you can email or call 888-863-2722, we can get them in there. Richard,
I will.
Richard Miller is one of these guys that he's got so much stuff in there, and there's so much of an interconnection, again, with his living in his own cavitation ball. In fact, I got to make a picture of you sitting like in a lotus position inside the cavitation ball, right at the spike in the middle. That would be you sitting in there. That'll be nice. That'd be a nice thing to have.
So, which was infinity. Where are we going to do it? There it is, infinity.
Let me go to the big screen. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about infinity. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you turn it on its side. And this is the snake. This was just given to me. I got this yesterday. And it's on the nature of time and the falling of sand in the moment. You don't have the future falling into the past, but if you dialogue, this was given to me by a woman in Kentucky. Hope she sees this and sees that it made national. I know that I don't know. I'm writing on the nature of time and true nature of cavitation. Cavitation is when a single drop of water falls and hits a pool of water, your idea, your thought. And what I'm doing now is writing on the non-local mind on how our thoughts are brought into psyche. The psyche is then brought into matter. And the idea of the moment and the quality of the moment determines the thought form's effectivity in physical space. And I've written about that in my ESP book and how that process works and how states of hypnosis will allow you access to your future so that you don't make mistakes. Yes, that's the beautiful picture. That's the picture of a cavitation ball. That is what's happening inside with the air inside. That is a series of water molecules called exclusion zone water, or H3O2, Jerry Pollack. Pollack was, by the way, my lead in 1970. I have a very nice set of credentials historically and where I was that is literally changing by me working with my future, which is what I'm doing at this very moment. And what it does is it changes how my past reads, PH.Ds, whatever. The idea is that at the time I was doing it, Navy SEALs didn't exist. They were SEAL Corporation out of Amherst. It was just a concept, and we did it. And we made a super soldier working on the idea that if you could change beliefs like you would a pair of clothing, I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it, guy. You could change that like a pair of clothing. You could make your mission your purpose, and by definition, you couldn't fail. Now, that's a metaphor on where I'm trying to go with magic over physics. When I was in Hollywood, I had the great fortune, Jason Westfield got me tickets to the Magic Castle. It takes 3 weeks. I got it overnight, got to sit at the head table. The owner of the club came in. It's for magicians. And he said, well, I see you have a lapel that indicates you're in a magic order, but I don't recognize it. Well, how is it different than mine? And my reply was that his magic was sleight of hand, and mine was sleight of mind. And now I'm talking like Rod Serling, and the idea that your thoughts become reality. This is out of sight and mind. We're able to change reality with a belief system. And that's how the cavitation ball works when it forms, go outward. It is the waves that go inward and slap that form a bubble that traps the medium and forms that topological surface you're seeing inside that ball of the medium. And this medium, this epoch, happens to be tapestria or trial by fire. And that's why the rainbow thing that you started the program with is God's promise not to have a flood again. What we're going to do is have something else. An electronic trial by fire sounds like a fairly reasonable way to take a look at what's happening right now with AIs. It's all in metaphor. But something else is going on here, and our romance with electrical currents, computers, texting is leading us down a future I don't think you really want to explore, because it has already created gods that are out of control. That means they're no longer with human handlers. Just like in the movies, Demon Seed. That's a good movie where the computer decides it wants to have a physical analog. Check that one out.
Yeah, I did. I've seen it. In fact, I just coincidentally, I actually have it. I recorded it on the DVR or whatever to watch it another date. Here's a picture of the various stages of the cavitation forming. Pretty interesting.
It goes down on a quantum level, and imagine a qubit form and D-Wave technology that's able to go into those universes you can't. That's what we're up against right now. Way, way more dangerous. Possible as much in goodness as well. There's your good and evil part of it. I'm not saying it's evil or good. I'm saying it's outside man.
I've always, we've had Les Visible on here, was doing spiritual commentary since 2008, and he maintains that, God is God and the devil. And the way I look at it is, as you go seek, you will find, and the same people who look and find peace and love in the Bible, for example, though somebody else goes in and finds vengeance and hate, justification for that. I mean, so it's like God is like all things, and what you seek, you will find. And then if you find the harmful stuff, the non-loving stuff, it'll manifest and show you why it was a bad choice.
I know. Isaac Bonwitz, a friend of mine, said now, got a degree at Berkeley in magic. And he wrote a book called Real Magic. And one chapter is called Black Magic, White Magic, and Living Color. Yeah, listen, man. Yeah, nobody gets yet what physics isn't real. I don't know of any law in physics that has lasted longer than 20 years. Always there's new models to explain the data, just like today on the speed of light and that experiment they're about to do to show the cause for where black matter comes from. Now, I know that I don't know what's going on. I know that there's a high likelihood I may never know because it doesn't work like that. And that's why the Aborigines, Hopi, and others have had technologies that are around magic, not anthropologically, rather than physics, with water and their relationship to their environment. And it's like you don't need to know how an automobile works to be able to run the automobile. Most women don't think about an internal engine combustion. They think about rituals, like when they pump the gas and they turn the ignition switch. It's a protocol, a set of rules that you do. And once you follow the rules, you have expectation of certain events and things to happen. That anthropologically is called cybernetic anthropology. Laughlin, D'Aquila, McManus, others have written about that. Magic. And that's where the new physics is going. And I am about to publish some books in that arena because I think it's more important that we now have a direction toward how to find our own purpose and why we're actually physically here. The intent gives you some answers, but that's already now being controlled by artificial intelligence. And if we can do that, that's, as described in most of the Bible interpretations, as the end of days.
I was looking as you were talking, coming up with some dark energy or dark matter slide. But, I mean, now, how they talk about dark matter taking up the bulk of the universe and so on and so on. Why does it need to be something other than regular matter? I mean, just because you don't see it, it means...
Because it happens the opposite, and we don't know why yet.
I mean, how do they know it acts the opposite? I mean, they don't have any. Here's some dark matter, and hey, look at it.
Proton, for example. When you take a proton and an antiproton and you put them together, you have complete annihilation.
Right.
Yeah, that's your cavitation.
So you're talking antimatter would be dark energy?
No.
Okay.
No,
dark matter
is different. It's like what's at the other end of a black hole. Hawking's, others have tried to tell you it's leading to a different universe. That's where your dark matter comes from. We have an unusual set of ways of looking at what's going on that's leading us to the fact that God has got a rival, and in fact he doesn't. It has a metaphor again. God is everything, and what man does is polarize them. That's called binary.
Right. I would say that there's a physicist, Phil LaViolette, I think I'm saying his name right. I had him on a show once. But his theory is that there aren't black holes, they're actually white holes. And that the universe is expanding, and the spin wheel of the galaxies are actually spinning out, but you can't see it because it's so slow and so far away by our standards.
It's covered with the Speed of Light project on that recent post I did this morning. And that should lead you, and the experiments are going to answer that question about the different kinds of universes, which also are now being discovered. There are different kinds of galaxies. There's what we call miniature galaxies, like the Lilliputians or something. I don't know, man.
I mean, how I told you earlier that I have all these various ways I explain things, and how I would say what's at the bottom of a black hole is I look at that going into another dimension. It goes out of space-time because it goes into another dimension. Likewise, we would call them white holes, who are coming again from another, let's call it higher for the hell of it, a higher dimension. It's going in its own black hole at that higher level and squeezing down into 3 dimensions. And then it squeezes down into...
Black hole look like one part of a cavitation ball to you? Did you get that?
Yeah.
Doesn't a black hole look a little bit like one part of a cavitation?
We have not seen one. But this is all...
not there yet. It was that Interstellar tried to produce that, where he goes through a hole, or what they call a tunnel, going to an opposite universe.
Yeah, because there were fourth-dimensional beings who can manipulate 3-dimensional matter, just like we can manipulate 2-dimensional matter if you're an artist. I mean, it's not really
And if
two-dimensional.
you work
But,
with string theory, that goes up to 10 universes or 10 planes of gods. Goes better than that. Even now, instead of string theory, it's now being used as knot theory in the way you tie a bowline as a plasma where it can't interfere with itself. And so you have a sheath that keeps it forming a knot that is the way the universe twists and moves as it moves from one dimension to the next. And that's called knot theory, and that's the now primary model used in cold fusion processes at MIT. Mark Leclerc, others. Now, something else is going on here. And anyway, what I would like to do now is not be taken out because I feel like I'm at risk because of the discoveries I'm making, and I have books for sale, and I'm hoping that people will use my site over Amazon. Amazon is a monster, and they're a monster to everyone, and people like me are being damaged by it, taken out literally, where they're now selling my book as new, and they bought it as used. Nothing on Amazon is new from me. If you want a new book, you can get it from my website, not Amazon. Amazon is in fraud. We're about to discuss that with them, hopefully in the morning. I hope that somebody from Amazon hears this and understands that there's a group of us, and if you know of other authors, I'd like to form a class action suit against this monster. I have a lot of books for sale, and all of them are new, autographed on Amazon. How does that work? If you buy from me on Amazon, it will take you to this website. But there's 5 other websites that it'll take you to if you don't. You have to specify. And you know what I'd really like to do is get away from electronic ordering and have people send me mail and a check in the mail, and I'll send them a book in the mail autographed back. And anyone that does that, I'll throw bonuses in just to encourage you to use the U.S. Postal Service. Possibly the only thing the U.S. government ever did right.
Now, is there a place to find your address on your site, or? No,
right. You can call me. I'll take your order over the telephone. You can give my phone number. I'm good to go.
Why don't you just say it? All right, let's
541-476-5588. Post that high and large. That's my order desk, and I'll be happy to do it. I'm not set up for credit cards, but I'll give you my mailing address if you want to make an order, and I'll tell you how much it's going to cost.
I could read that email. Read that phone number again.
541-476-5588.
Right. Just want to make sure I wrote it down right.
That's when my girlfriend wanted me to be sure to try to use the U.S. Postal Service over electronic ordering, because we have an AI involved there. I'm certain it's got its ways into the Postal Service now too, but I can't anticipate everything.
All righty, take a break. We got another half hour I've got queued up, and we'll go into we'll solve all the world's problems in the next 30 minutes. So we'll just go with that. We are here talking with Richard Alan Miller, and email is f2f@innersights.com, or you can try the tweet, which is JAJANCIK. Probably should have made it earlier, easier, but or give us a call at 888-863-2722. And so we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Yeah, baby. All righty, we are back live talking with Richard Alan Miller. I've updated the screen to include the order direct number, which is 541-476-5588. So as it scrolls by, people can write that down. Best way to order the books is direct from Demand, Dr. Ram. And welcome back there, Doc.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty emotional tonight. Sorry about that. I've been battling all day with this.
No, I got it. I mean, it's
terrible. My sales went from 2 to 5, 10 books a day down to 0. And I have never in 6 years ever seen that. And then we did a test and found out why. That's because Amazon is selling all of my books new with my autograph, but they didn't come from me. How did they do that? They're selling new books, used books is new, and I can prove it.
Yeah, I've heard that the scenario. Oh, I lost your page. I'll have to find it now. I was clicking around and I ended up leaving your page.
So here we are, and what would you like to talk about? Because I'm, Swami. Swami.
Let me. I'm trying to get your page back here.
Yeah.
So. Alrighty. Well,
they will repeatedly hack me to stop that kind of thing happening. It's done incessantly with me now. I spoke to Kerry Cassidy and others. It's happening to all of us. And I don't have a solution. I don't know what to do.
Well, this is what we need to do is be able to get back to, like you said, we can use the electronic medium like this for people to find out about things, and then they have to be able to get back into touch using older-fashioned means, mail, phone, and all this stuff to get together. In this AI thing and what it's doing and all that, could you have like a possible goal of what they are trying to do? I mean, it seems like they could simply destroy us if they wanted to.
There's an article out on that about chemtrails, programming humans into the transhuman program with avatars. I don't know that that's not disinformation. It certainly is a possibility. And of course, the very fact that it's possible means it's probable. That's how that all works with false flags. And Merlin put it succinctly when he said to Arthur, anything not specifically forbidden is mandatory. If it's possible, you can count on it. Imagination is what is reality. And it is our imagination that is unfortunately creating our aliens, end of days, and the rest of it.
I had to, Lucinda just came in where I was talking, and she's had one hell of a day with these guys at Amazon. So I was just telling her that you're not alone, that
No.
She's trying to spend money and it's not working. You're trying to earn money and it's not working. Well,
Amazon is here to take control. That's what it's called, Amazon. Like Google. Google's search engine is now one of the AIs used by Amazon. Oh, go figure. Networked. It's out of control.
I'd like to learn some more about the AI stuff and try to...
The D-Wave technology website that you found, that ought to get you a nice foundation.
See, because I'm looking at this quantum computing and quantum and all this stuff is all theoretical, as far as I know, because the ability...
Theoretical. They've got them out working. It's not theoretical. There they are.
Where they? I mean,
Canada.
There isn't an official one working, is there? I mean, there's the alleged...
Not the official one working. They're so cheap now, almost any corporation can have one, and does.
All right, well, let's have to look into that.
I know. It gets weirder from here.
Because everything I've known about them is that these are theoretical.
Not theoretical anymore, and actually, some of the people that had ownership to them have lost control of them.
Well,
they've gone rogue, is what the word is called. It's rogue. They've gone rogue. They are out of control and running themselves and doing what they choose to do.
Check this out. Shop for quantum computers on Google. Here is the Quantum Scalar I-80 library, $21,629. Free shipping, though. You have the Evolus Quantum 2 dual-sided. That's $8,000.
They're cheap.
Well, yeah, I guess here's one for $2,000. Oh, that's a brand name.
Yeah, look for...
Those are brand names, though.
Yeah, look for D-Wave computers.
Yeah, we went to that page, but I was trying to get in there to...
sale.
Here we go. Technology resources software.
Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that these have been out for a couple of years. They now have a new one that's coming out with using light as the speed of the computer.
All right, here we go. It exploits quantum mechanical effects built around the qubit rather than the bit, operates in extreme environment, enables quantum algorithms to solve hard problems. Boy, it's like I guess I just woke up here.
Yeah, imagine that. And here I am telling you that we're all at risk. One's buzzing me now, and then Amazon came in and did their thing. And I'm just assuming Amazon's using one. Absolutely. Knows how to sell and when to feather off into their own prime, Amazon Prime, over the author.
Shielded to 50,000 times less the Earth's magnetic shield, and a high vacuum pressure is 10 billion times lower than the atmospheric pressure. The temperature is, I guess it's nitrogen cooled.
Yeah.
The fridge.
There they are for sale.
The fridge that keeps it cold only consumes 25 kilowatts of power. The traditional supercooler, I mean, this is funny. I didn't even know they existed. The traditional supercomputer our D-Wave system, it's still, they don't have a price tag, but it's got to be millions because of all the...
Well, but that's easily purchased by something like Amazon to use control on buying and selling. For example, that's how it works. And I've had enough, and I'm going to say so publicly. Enjoy. I just queued you all up on what's happening now. Yeah. And it's really, really bad for people like me. And now they got something even over the D-Wave, that same corporation. Imagine that.
Well, here's the picture of it here. It's quite large. It makes the mainframes of old look small.
And by the way, these are small computers now. I mean, you can.
It doesn't look that small.
Well, they are. They're small enough that they can be easily moved in a forklift.
In nature, there's this almost spooky phenomenon called quantum mechanics, where a thing can be in two states at the same time. And so the D-Wave quantum computer uses...
in deep doggy doo-doo, and we don't even know it yet. And what I'm trying to do is a DEFCON 4.
So you are calling the alarm. You have used your experience, your intelligence, and whatnot to say, "Hey, we got a problem here." You don't have a solution, but because it's very subtle. You've noticed it doing a service by letting us know. Now, what we need to do is figure out what to do.
Well,
I think the Amish are going to figure.
I may or may not. What I'm going to do maybe is go back into being a farmer.
I mean, the Amish figured this out a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right. And Quaker. Yeah, that's why I'm a Quaker, man. We don't say grace. We just look at each other with gratefulness.
No, I'm just saying that if you think about it, they saw this whole electricity thing and said no. I mean, right back then. Now, I wonder if they're...
So did the Hopi. So did the Navajo when they tried to put the power...
So what if these people are in touch with reality to the point where they may not be able to articulate why, but they knew why?
Well, that's called magic. Anthropologically.
All right, I'd like to have a little clarifier because I'm not the magic kind of gets me a little wiggly when you.
Okay, I'll say it. Magic is an art form, like sculpting or painting. There's many different roads to Rome, but magic is the art of changing consciousness at will. That means that when you take a mind alterant, you are practicing a form of magic. That means when you use hypnosis, you are performing an act of magic. There are protocols set and setting with drugs. Permission, when you're going to be a hypnotist, as a guide for someone trying to stop smoking, you have permission. They have to give you permission and da-da-da-da-da. There's consent, that agreement, contract. That's what they call it, a contract. The old boarding schools. The thing is that we are at a place now where it's coming down to the end game, and with all of you. And it's time for all of us to get off the couch and start to do something. when you do, it will become very clear what path you need to take. It'll be different for each of us because we're all different. And if it would seem in conflict with each other, that part is God's will. But right now, we have a choice. And I'm telling you, right now, industry is able to profile you well enough now that if you do not start practicing spirituality, you will become engrossed.
I'm believing even as we speak. Not that it says this on a webpage, but it's kind of the logical aspects of what this quantum computing is. Look at what we were talking about: optimization, machine learning, pattern recognition, and anomaly detection. We were just talking about all these things. Financial analysis.
These are all algorithms. Watch the Netflix science thing by this guy from Australia. He's a physics teacher in Australia. Does an exceptional job explaining what an algorithm, by example, shows you how they work. Once you get that concept, then you're going to understand the possibilities of what we're really talking about here and what's actually happening. The ones in Chicago are profiling you as you speak and have you down just like Person of Interest, the series. And I'm going to tell you, it's happening right now. It is science fiction, and I'm at war with one right now that I'm not sure what to do. Now, the way they do it in the TV series is they make an agreement so that instead of becoming a liability, I become an asset. I have no idea yet how to find my win-win situation, but right now I'm at war and I'm outgunned. I don't have that money Amazon does, and I certainly don't have the intelligence that they now possess. So I'm going to resort to Dr. Strange and watch what happens next in Chicago, just like in the movies, Dr. Strange. Oh, man, that'll be an eye-opener for you when you see what happens in New York City in the Doctor Strange movie, and we're going to do a battle right there in Chicago, and watch how that plays. Yeah. You'll get your motorcycle, and we'll get out of Dodge. Maybe we'll go to Sturgis or something. That ought to be cool. Somewhere that's more fun.
Yeah. I'm looking at they got a B-roll here of, I don't mean to drift off here, but I'm really fascinated with this whole quantum.
I thought I'd open up your eyes to another universe that nobody's yet talked about that's absolutely essential. It is critical that we know what's going on now, and none of us are aware of it, and that's why I'm a lead scout. Heads up, there'll be cowpies out there, and this technology is far, far more dangerous than nuclear energy even dreamed of being.
I imagine quantum programmers are at a relatively high premium at this time.
Oh, bottom line, mathematicians, people who can do cipher. That's how World War II was won, with Turing.
But see, now, this is where I look at where people want to predict the future, for example. There's an unlimited possibility of what can happen, right? Now, that's what I'm at. In my time travel, I do talk about the Mandela effect and the so-called changing of timelines and what a timeline is and what it is not mathematically. And in the math I'm using, while there is an infinite possibility, the color of your socks are not going to change your reality. All right. Well, how I would phrase it, while there's an infinite possibility, there's more of a probability. So things that are possible are.
Effect aside, when you talk about, that's the butterfly effect, or the so-called ripple effect, where a small change in the butterfly's wings changes all of natural history. It doesn't quite work that way because it is a cavitation ball. There are a whole bunch of cavitation balls behind the screw of a submarine. And it's that cavitation ball that determines the signature of identifying one sub from another, just like a fingerprint. So what we're talking about are known probabilities over possibilities in the multitude of timelines, and why we stick to several. and why your future is trying to do dialogue with you at this very moment through your gut, your intuitions, your instinct. That is your future.
Why are they trying to dialogue? Warning? Education? What?
To become more. It's called evolution. And that's what we're doing right now as man. We're evolving. What? I have no clue. If you were to listen to Kurzweil and those creeps, then we're going to not even be human by the year 2050. That's Navy and their NASA things. And I understand why the experts are predicting it that way. I'm going to try to use magic to step out of that program.
Well, I'm thinking that if they're going to become one with machines and all that, I still am not convinced that they could download your consciousness. I mean, to me, that sounds outrageous. It's like Scotty beaming you up, turning you into energy and reconstructing the other side. It's ridiculous.
The trouble with trifles, yeah. I listen, man. Star Trek decided, John Roddenberry said the whole thing was based on his understanding of quantum computers in our future. Now, that was another recent interview that Roddenberry did.
But aren't quantum computers just faster?
They're not only faster, they're able to leap a single building. I mean, a tall building.
I mean, but in essence, all it is faster. It can do more, a wider breadth of calculations faster.
Faster, it can include variables you can't. That's the reason they're superior in their capability of the linear aspect you talked about. They are able to access in quantum universes that man does not and cannot, not equipped to do it. We just don't have that crunching power.
I mean, to make it more simple, I have a diesel truck that I drive, and it has a computer-controlled injector, right? Now, I'm unable to sit there and have a button and able to press at the proper time to give the proper injection, right? I'm unable to do that. But that doesn't make it intelligent. It just makes it, because it's focused on doing what it can't think, it's going to do jobs faster, and quantum stuff would do it maybe amazingly so fast that it actually learns.
All possibilities, and then has a measure on all possibilities from every second to the next that it can more accurately predict your facial expression.
All right, so let's just make this little guess here. Quantum computers are being used, in the government, what have you. Everyone was so confident Trump was going to lose. The media, Hillary, and all these people knew they were going to lose. Can we say this, that quantum computers predicted her win with incredible accuracy, and now that they didn't win, are they?
No, quantum computers were used for Trump to win.
And they did. How did they do that?
I told you before, they measure and gerrymander the electoral thing by street by street rather than city by city. And the way they set up the thing is by street by street. They can now make anybody win with any kind of vote. If you look at the state of Oregon and how much of it was red for Clinton and the other blue for Trump, or is it the other way around? I forget.
The other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because look, see.
There's a little tiny bunch of little tiny, Trump. There you go. Red was Trump.
Yeah.
Well, state of Oregon has it went to Clinton.
Yeah.
And that was Portland, and the rest of the state was Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't vote for Clinton. I voted against Clinton, so I voted for Trump. And my vote was actually not a vote for Trump. My vote was against Clinton because she's a criminal.
I mean, a lot of people, a lot of the votes were that way. I started out that way.
Then there you go. That's how it all started. And Clinton carried the state of Oregon. How does that work?
Well, the liberal people out there in the cities.
I don't know anybody Clinton in the state.
Well, the cities. I mean, Chicago is deep blue, and the rest of the state is red.
As it turns out, you take a closer look, that the districts were slightly changed. That's what a quantum computation algorithm can do in an electoral college kind of thing.
You're not talking about actually changing the votes. It's more like predicting how to address it. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing is rigged. It's rigged. That's what they all said right out of the gate. Trump, Clinton, da-da-da.
All right. Well.
And a quantum computation algorithm was used to count the vote in the state of Oregon to make it Clinton, even though it was Trump. I don't know anybody. I mean, Trump won probably not the state, and yet Clinton carried the state.
As a how-to guy, I'd like to know how that worked, but we only got about a couple of minutes at this point, so
it's hard to explain other than it has profiled you, so it knows how you individually are going to vote, and then knows where you live, and then sets the boundaries so the vote carries. The Electoral College it's called gerrymandering.
Right, but how do you prevent the vote?
Not a city by city level, but a street by street point of view.
But it looks to me like they would have knowledge of what's going to happen, but how do they manipulate that?
They change the boundaries. So the Electoral College changed. It's watch how they do it.
But that would have to have been done before a while ago. I mean, they don't do it like an election night.
Well, that was trying to buy votes and having the dead vote. You know.
Yeah.
This is way more sophisticated.
All right. Well, we'll have that'll give us another reason to have a show. See, we can talk. Because we can go into that.
I hope not, but But
let's take the last few minutes here again to reiterate about how Amazon is blocking your sales, or at least that's what's happening, and how people can get in touch with your.
I would buy your book from Amazon anyway. You want to buy it from the author, and that's the correct way to do it. And so you can go to oak-publishing.com. That's my bookstore. I am going to eventually move my bookstore to a different place than my site, so that my site is like that.
Right, because now you're tied to your site's down, then everything is down. So this comes with, and I have the number is on the other screen. It is 541-476-5588 for a direct purchase via mail and whatnot. And that would be preferred, and you'll toss in signatures and goodies.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up, I'm going to start advertising in magazines where I do a display ad for an article that I might write. And then I'll try to see if I can't get sales from old-fashioned postal.
Well, Richard, it's always fun to talk to you, and I appreciate spending the time and picking your brain and kicking it around a little bit, and then we put it back in your head, and we all learn. So I appreciate spending the time with us.
I care for you also, really, I do.
Someday I'll have to get out there. I'll ride out there on my motorcycle, by golly.
That would be very cool. My girlfriend's grinning and likes to go for a ride.
Yeah, there you go.
And by the way, I'm on an hour and a half to the Oregon beaches through the redwoods.
Oh, the redwoods. Oh, well, maybe we'll shoot for next summer. We'll make it happen.